Chapter 11. Patch notes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian was then transported to the user interface of the GamePod and the update timer for the game popped up. 4.59.00 time remaining to finish update. What just happened? Adrian shouted at the user interface. I am unable to answer that, user. My crafty son, for the question does not have a particular issue, the AI replied. Never mind. Please enter Pandemonium forums. Username. Little void password *************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************20 Frustratingly. The AI did exactly as he commanded and logged him in the forums. In the forums, the players were buzzing about the updates since it was only a month since the last update came. There were a mixture of topics like what will be in the game, why did it suddenly updated, etc. The sudden update alarmed the top guilds, so when they were logged out, they instructed all their members to log into their chat group. In the chat group, they speculated on what started the update. Some thrown their suggestion, which some were plausible while some outright outrageous. The top guilds all had the same speculation that someone either triggered the event or it was a surprise event, since the last update just introduced the summoner job and a few bug fixes. As Adrian was scrolling to the numerous threads that contained rants and excitement, Atlas Incorporated posted the teaser of the upcoming event. Patch notes. Event teaser. Undead Rising, an ancient evil that has slumbered for eons, has woken up and is planning its return to the mortal plane. Notes. This event will be playable for all players regardless of level. All players are encouraged to participate in the event. Successful clearing of this event will unlock the mage job class of Necromancer. If unsuccessful in defeating the ancient evil, the topography and power balance of the kingdoms will shift. The forums went nuts when this nugget of information was released. All over social media or other platforms that engages in conversation has news about the update posted and shared by people of all ages, since this was a world-changing event. Because of the teaser released, Adrian suddenly remembered about the anomaly that happened with the dungeon boss. He remembered that when he used Inspect on the monster it showed undead as a name modifier and unknown level. Could it be? Did I trigger the event? Adrian pondered. He does not know if his guess is accurate, but if it is, how did he trigger it? He racked his brain trying to remember how, and the only clue he could think of is the Amulet of Chaos. It's probably that weird necklace, Adrian thought. As he was still brainstorming, a notification popped up in front of him. L.C. Dinner is ready. Mom, well, no one can think on an empty stomach, Adrian said to himself and logged out. The hatch on the game pod opened and Adrian sat up. He wanted to know if he can move his legs. So he patiently tried to tell his legs to lift up, in his mind of course. He tried for 10 minutes and all he did was lift both his legs by a quarter inch, which made him produce a pained smile. Well, Rome was not built in a day, Adrian told himself to boost his spirit up. He supported his lower body using his hands in order to transfer his body to his hovering wheelchair. He went downstairs where his dinner awaits and the story he will tell about his adventures. Chapter 12. Hall of Armageddon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian decided to return playing the game tomorrow after breakfast, since the patch would be finished by the time he is scheduled to sleep according to his schedule. He slept that night with excitement since he was vaguely aware that he may have triggered an event. The next morning, Adrian got up early and helped his mother prepare breakfast, though all he did was set up the table. He quickly finished his meal and thanked his parents with wishing them a good day. His parents can only look at each other and smile wryly, since at least their son's spirit is high. They were now questioning their decision if buying the game pod was useful or destructive. It was already 9:12 a.m. Adrian was about to log in the game when his best friend Marlon was attempting to video call him with his Halos watch, or Highly Advanced Logical Operating System watch. Halos watch has replaced the need for cell phones by the year 2050. Because of the convenience and advanced tech of the Halos watch, people around the world jumped at the chance to own one. Thus, phones became obsolete and became a thing of the past. Adrian answered the Marlin's call. The Halos watch projected a 3D image of Marlin's head all the way to his shoulder. He was a bit on the chubby side in terms of physique and wears glasses. He was his best friend since third grade. He was a gamer just like him, so they clicked right away. They'd been playing this monster catcher game that was already on generation 25 or something, so it had about tens of thousands of it to catch. So how was the game? Tell me, Marlin asked. It was fun, Adrian replied. That's it. It's fun. Care to be more specific? Marlin said with a sarcastic tone. I started as a summoner and picked a dog as my first soulbound creature. I got logged out before I got out of the town of Genesis. How's that for specific? Adrian said with a smirk. You told me you are going to choose the mage job. Why did you choose the summoner? It gets very difficult to level up since you share EXP with your soulbound creatures, Marlin asked. Well, since I already started late, I might as well choose it. You already got your secondary job advancement right. Do not worry, I will catch up to you in no time, Adrian replied. I created an elf priest character and I am a level 50 oracle since I just started playing about 7 months ago. Just don't forget to pair you Halos watch with your game pod so I can call you in game and vice versa. Don't be shy to ask for help. Marlin out, Marlin replied. The call ended, so Adrian hopped into the pod and set his Halos watch in the slot designed for it. He forgot to do it when he first got the game pod because of his rush to play the game. He closed the pod and booted it. ZZZT. Welcome user MyCraftySon. Would you like to pair the device with the ID 030119998 to this game pod? The pod's AI asked. Yes, Adrian replied. Pairing successful. User can now use the call function of the game pod. Thank you for your patience, the AI answered. Initiate pandemonium, Adrian commanded. The AI followed the command and Adrian's vision blacked out. When Adrian regained his vision, he saw his form and his avatar became smaller and looked like a cute ghost, like the well-known friendly ghost that was popular in the 1990s. He looked at his surroundings and noticed that he was standing on top of a pentagram, and with each corner of the pentagram showing a hologram of demon-like entities each. Welcome Chosen One to the Hall of Armageddon. What is your name, Chosen One? A deep voice suddenly said. I go by the name Equinox. May I know who is talking and what is the Hall of Armageddon? Adrian asked. I am the Hall's essence given sentience by the twin gods, Gia and Abaddon. The Hall is meant for the champion chosen by the twin gods as a way of reincarnating when the champion falls for the first time in battle against the forces of destruction. The Hall answered. The Hall continued, you have been granted the boon of reincarnation in order to combat those who wish to harm the balance of the world. You will choose between the 5 races that has been tied to the firstborn races of the world, which was tasked in protecting the world, the Asmodeans. The Asmodeans have been tasked to prevent the collapse of this world. Sadly, they are no more than relics of the past, for they have fallen in battle during the first siege of the Corruptans. Though they have passed their blood and powers, it has been diluted due to the passage of time and intermingling of species. Please choose between these 5 races that have closely resembled their progenitor, the Hall's voice said. Chapter 13. The 5 races you are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian looked at the 5 holographic figures that are being projected. He inspected the first hologram that resembled a giant. Race. J.Ton description. A race known for its gigantic bodies and mastery of elements that make up its body when they reach maturity. After choosing an elemental force that will make up its body, it will become immune to that element. Their bodies become tougher as they get stronger. Racial skill. Elemental nullification species. Will be dependent on the element the player chooses to master. So basically this race was built for tanks and elemental mages. May I ask a question if I will retain my level and job? Adrian asked. Yes, apart from your race you will retain your previous strength and fighting mastery, the hall answered. Adrian nodded and proceeded to the next hologram. Race. Fakian description. A race known for its affinity with natural magic. A race that are known for their ethereal beauty and mischievous behavior. They have the power to bend nature to their will. Due to this they are famed for their mastery in healing magic. Racial skill. Nature magic species. Fairy, Dryad/Leshy. Adrian was stunned because Fakian was in the choices because elves were a type of Fey folk. So he asked, why are there Fakian here when there are already elves present in the world? The hall answered, the elves may be a descendants of a Fakian but they possess minuscule amount of Asmodean blood. The elves may stop aging at a certain age yet they still die of old age. These 5 races you see here also stop aging past a certain age but they do not die of old age which makes them basically immortal but that does not make them invincible. That is what separates them from the elves. Adrian nodded in response. He looked at the species selection and there were 2 options, either be a fairy or a Dryad/Leshy. It seems from the hologram fairies have wings while Dryad/Leshy are like human. Like with tree characteristics. After finished checking the Fakian, he moved to the next hologram. Race. Erebian description. Also known as Children of the Night. A race known for their tempting beauty and ravishing forms. A race famed for their enhanced strength during the night but weak during the day. The weakness becomes obsolete when one attains a higher rank. Racial skill. Blood manipulation species. Vampire, werewolf. Why are vampires and werewolves the same race? Are they not mortal enemies? Adrian asked. Clearly pertaining to the famous pop culture myth that vampires and werewolves were sworn enemies. He got curious and looked at the difference of both. Species. Vampire race. Erebian description. An Erebian species known for morphing their body into a gigantic bat to release the power hidden in their bloodline. More powerful on moonless nights. Species. Werewolf race. Erebian description. An Erebian species known for morphing into a bipedal wolf to release the power hidden in their bloodline. More powerful on nights where the moon is visible in the night sky. Though not entirely mortal enemies like you have said, both species do have a fight for dominance on which one is more superior than the other. They are both descendants of the same Asmodean, thus making them of the same race, the hall replied. Okay then, Adrian said with a bewildered tone, then faced to look at the next hologram. Race. Salvagian description. Known as the Wild. A mystical race that is a mixture of man and beast. Famed for their enhanced speed and stamina in their natural habitat. Fearsome predators known as relentless hunters. A race that personifies the saying, survival of the fittest. Racial skill. Beastification species. Terramorph, Hydromorph, Aviomorph. The Salvagian race looks like this game's counterpart for Beastfolk. No wonder there were no Beastfolk as a starting race. From the species, it looks like this race can either be land, water and air specialists. With a variety of combinations to choose from, you could either create an overpowered character or a mediocre one. Adrian muttered while heading to the last hologram. Race. Deimos description. A race often mistaken for devilkin because of their horns, also known as demons. This race is strongly attuned to the energy of the cosmos, therefore they are unable to learn other magics. Not much is known about this race for they are the most peculiar and most mysterious of the 5 races. Racial skill. Origin magic species. Jinn, imp, diabolin. What's the difference between the devilkin and the Deimos? Adrian asked. Due to the elusive nature of the Deimos, they are often mistaken as devilkin. One reason why they are mistaken are for their horns, but devilkin horns are smooth while the Deimos have scale-layered horns, author can note. Their horns look like half a croissant. Another difference is that the Deimos race have runes on their skins that help them gather channel origin magic, the Hall replied. Due to Adrian's curiosity on the difference of each species and the unique magic, he looked through each one on more details like he did with the Erebian race. Species. Jinn race. Deimos description. The one-horned variant of the Deimos race known for their ingenious use of origin magic. Their bodies are half corporeal and half cosmic gas. The Jinn looked like a copy of that famous wish-granting entity with phenomenal cosmic powers but with a horn on its forehead. Species, Imp race. Deimos description. The two-horned variant of the Deimos race. They have the nickname of the Little Demon, although they only got it because their species is the smallest of the three Deimos species. They like pulling mischief using origin magic. This species have wings that they can retract from their body. The Imp species are human-sized in stature while the other species are larger in stature, earning it the Little Demon nickname. Their horns stick out from the side of their head. Species. Diabolan race. Deimos description. The three-horned variant of the Deimos race and the one with the largest build. The strongest in terms muscular strength of the Deimos race since they use origin energy to enhance their physical constitution. The Diabolan are about 3 meters in height, with the Jinn being 2.5 meters in height and the Imp race that reaches to 6 feet in height. The Diabolan also has talons in their feet, probably for better grip on the ground, with their bodies looking like a bodybuilder. Their horns are located on their forehead with one in the middle and the other two spaced equally apart. Now which one do I choose? Adrian debated as he was given a multitude of races. Chapter 14. Race change. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian was pondering on what to choose. J.Tun was out of the picture since they were of the giant race. A giant summoner would be like a target with a sign saying "Hit me, I am right here." Also, with the elemental affinity, he would probably have a restriction on the summons he could acquire. Being a Selvagian is not that compatible with a summoner in his opinion. Selvagians rely on their physique and dexterity to overpower their opponents. Their special physique is like a double-edged sword. As a summoner, being agile is a must, since if he is taken out his summons would also be taken out, but that also means that he will not be able to perform auxiliary magic while dodging or doing physical attacks. That leaves 3 options. Feikin, Erebian and Deimos. The Feikin would be a good choice since they have affinity towards healing magic. The skill Invigorate helped him clench a victory against the Alpha Wolf boss, though he still died in the end. He would be the best support for his summons, but there is one dilemma. I will never be a fairy. Adrian suddenly shouted, which reverberated throughout the hall. The hall noticed this but did not say anything and just observed him. I could be a Leshy, but if it is based on the old folktales, I would have to sprout in a body of water and get nutrients from lakes, plus fire magic would most likely destroy me. The healing magic is tempting advantage though. A better choice would either be become an Erebian or a Deimos. For Erebian, vampire species would be the optimal choice since in legends they are told to have familiars. The werewolf species would have been awesome because you could become a wolf that tears through your enemy, but it's not optimal for the summoner job though. The Erebian race are perfect for the scout job because of their name, Children of the Night. Too bad he was a summoner, so being an Erebian would benefit him a little. The last logical choice would be to become a member of the Deimos race. He would most likely not choose the Diabolan species since they are almost as big as the J.Tun. So which one will benefit him the most? A Leshy, a vampire, a Jinn or an Imp? Before he could make a decisive choice, he asked the hall. What is origin magic? Adrian asked curiously. Even I, Champion Equinox, do not know it entirely. For the Deimos race are the most elusive of the 5 races. The gods may have been omnipotent, but they are not omniscient. Also, there are ways to avoid the gods' watchful eyes. But based on what the mortals that live in the world, the Deimos race can probably bend time and space, which enables them to deceive the eyes of the gods. But as you know, greater power comes with greater risks and difficulty to master, the Hall answered. With the answer he was given, Adrian finally decided on what race and species he is going to be. Equals 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 equals. Hello. To my fellow Pandemonium junkies, I hope you are having fun playing the game. Because so do I. The female news anchor said enthusiastically. I hope they are Stella, for this is Pandemo News, the news segment that bringing you what is currently relevant in game, whether that be mere gossip to game breaking news. I am Steve, your other news anchor for today, the male anchor said. So Stella, what is new this patch? So that our regular viewers know, Steve said. Well Steve, this patch is where the action is happening for a world-class event is happening. And if the player base is successful in stopping this threat, we will have a new job advancement for mages, which are necromancers. Stella answered. To tell us more about this new job advancement, we have Chief Planning Director for Pandemonium, Mr. Crowley. Steve reported. Hello to all that are tuned into the show. My name is Victor Crowley for those who have just tuned in. For those wondering why Necromancer is not a job advancement for summoners but for a mage, it is of one reason. That reason mainly focuses on the Necromancer's skill set and job origin. Basically, Necromancers control hexes and miasma, which makes them the third job advancement for mages, from which is closer to Dark Mages, which is a second job advancement for the mage job. They are not for summoners for one reason, which their summons are not permanent but rather temporary, and they consume mana as long as the undead stay in battle. Fear not, that does not mean our summoner players cannot tame undead. Unlike normal beasts, undead have a disfigured soul, which is why a special type of procedure is needed to soulbound an undead. Of course, I will not tell you that procedure, and that is why you must find that out for yourselves. Mr. Crowley said. Is there really nothing else we could know about Mr. Crowley? Asked Stella with puppy dog eyes. Well, there is one more thing I could share. Mr. Crowley answered, which put the whole studio focused on what he says next. A saying actually, which is, dirty secrets can never be buried. Mr. Crowley said with an ominous tone. Oh. That may be a clue for us in completing the event, Steve said while looking at Mr. Crowley for a response, but got a sheepish smile in exchange. On other news, a new and improved mastery system has been implemented. This makes the game into an even harder grind, but a bit exciting as well. Better mastery on skills means higher damage and better effects, so grind yourselves to victory, Stella said with a beaming smile. The discussions about the update continued on for about 3 hours before the broadcast was ended. Chapter 15. Asmodean Prowess. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System to player announcement. The player has chosen the Deimos race. Player will now be transported to your next destination. A few minutes earlier. Now that you have chosen your new form champion Equinox, it is now time to give you the message the twin gods Gia and Abaddon have entrusted to you, the Hall said. Quest notification. The Ancient Heroes Part I, Summoner Quest. The twin gods, Gia the goddess of life and Abaddon the god of death, have entrusted you to put a stop to the revival of the Lich King, for he will lay waste to the world. You must find clues on what the ancient heroes did in order to strengthen the seal that keeps the Lich King from reviving. Difficulty. B. Time limit. 100 days reward. Random epic soul stone. Adrian cannot believe the quest he was given. Quests are basically ranked from F, E, D, C, B, A, S to SSSSS according to the level of difficulty. For a level 5 rookie to be given a B rating quest wood is already mind-blowing. The quest also had a time limit, which is also debilitating for him because he can only log in for 8 hours, which is equivalent to 1 day in game time. He really will have to be actively looking for clues on this event in order to even finish his first quest. Although of great difficulty, the reward is really nice, for it was an epic soul stone. An epic soul stone would give him a chance to summon a creature that has a great power. The stone might even give him a dragon or like a griffin. This reward was too good to pass. With the lucrative reward, he resolved himself to find the clues as fast as he can. The pentagram started glowing and becoming even brighter. The pentagram is ready, Champion Equinox. I bid you farewell and give you the blessings of the gods to avert the crisis at hand, the hull's voice echoed. Adrian's ghostly form started fading from where he stand, then his vision blacked out. When Adrian regained his vision, he was inside a room with furniture made from stone that illuminates with a pattern like that of the galaxies. Not only the furniture but the whole inside of the house sparkles with this effect. He checked the game logs and managed to see multiple announcements. He also checked his new character status. System to player announcement, plus welcome back to Pandemonium. The latest patch has been successfully installed. All skills have been rebalanced, except some job-specific skills, in order to accommodate the mastery system. The game's AI has calculated the mastery for the earlier players of the game to ensue fairness. Thank you for your patronage. Plus player has successfully changed race from human to Deimos. Plus player Equinox has been given the passive skill Asmodean Prowess. Plus player Equinox has been given the passive skill Deimos Core. Plus player Equinox has acquired racial skill Origin Magic. Plus player Equinox has acquired the title Champion of the Twin Gods. Plus the Amulet of Chaos has devoured the item Basic Soul Gloves and has become the item Twilight Demi Gauntlets. Plus the armor the player has worn are not usable for current race and were unequipped. Name: Equinox Race. Deimos, Quarter Asmodean, Species. Imp, Lesser Demon, Title. Champion of the Twin Gods. Job. Summoner LVL. 5 EXP 0/100% HP, 200/200 MP 200/200 VIT. 10 STR 8 int. 10 plus 10 AGI. 5 dex. 5 end. 8 available stat points. 40 skills. Job skills, expand, active skills, expand, passive skills, expand, racial skill. Origin magic, expand, equipment. Head. None body. None feet. None weapon. Twilight Demi Gauntlets earrings. None necklace. None waist. None right hand. None left hand. None. Adrian's eyes bulged when he saw his stats. His basic stats went up by a lot and his unused status points basically doubled. He wanted to check what made this phenomenon possible, so he checked his newly acquired skills in order to clarify his speculation, and it did not disappoint. Name: Racial skill Origin Magic Effect. Grants the user the ability to master origin magic. Origin magic pertains to magic that is harnessed from the ether, which allows the user to grasp the principle of time and space. Due to the uniqueness of ether, the user cannot use other magics other than origin magic. Name: Deimos Core Effect. Doubles the player's stat bonus per level. Also increases the basic stat of the player. Grants slight bonus to origin magic mastery. Name: Asmodean Prowess, Summoner, Effect. Grants the player the chance to nullify abnormal status conditions, dependent on bloodline purity. Grants the player and soulbound 100% experience gain. Adrian just perhaps witnessed a summoner player game-breaking skill. Chapter 16. The Paradox Plane. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After calming down from his shock, Equinox checked his newly acquired weapon and title that the system notified him with. Weapon: Twilight Demi Gauntlet, Growth Type, Character Bound, Rarity, Uncommon, Upgradable, Description. A soul glove destined to be worn by the champion of the twin gods. It was forged by the god Arts and Craft, Hephaesto, at the request of the twin gods. Effect: INT plus 10, can be upgraded by assimilating better weapons, slots. 1, empty 2. Empty 3. Empty 4. Empty 5. Empty. The Twilight Demi Gauntlets, like its name implies, is like miniature version of a gauntlet. It is made of some kind of organic metal that is of violet color. Located in the middle of the demi-dot gauntlets is a pentagram encased in a clear crystal dome of unimaginable hardness. Title: Champion of the Twin Gods Effect. Enhances likability for races with Asmodean heritage. Enhances effect of healing spells by 10%. Chance to execute enemies under 50% health by 5%. Equinox's mind was blown once more, for he got a title that gave him an execute chance. Well, Abaddon ain't the god of death for nothing. It was not overpowered since it did not give out a flat execute chance, but it required a condition to trigger which balanced the title's effect in Equinox's opinion. Now that he has verified everything, he was finally ready to check the area he was in. He was about to go out the door when he suddenly saw his reflection. He just looks like his human avatar, but his skin has a blue skin tone with runic symbols etched into his skin in a symmetrical manner, since the runes are of lines and shapes. He also has two horns located just above his ears. It is cylindrical in shape, about 2 inches in length and 4 inches in circumference. He has light blue hair which changed from his previous black-colored hair that he has set with his human avatar. He then suddenly remembered Sirius and hurriedly summoned him. Summon. Sirius. Equinox chanted. The magic circle appeared on the ground and there Sirius emerged. Name: Sirius. Species: Dog, Demon Lupus Strain, LVL, 6 HP 120/120 Evolution. Possible: Expand. Sirius looked at the new image of his tamer and felt an instinct to bow. His bloodline must have reacted to his tamer's new form. It seems nothing happened to you, Sirius. Oh, thank goodness. Equinox said while suddenly patting Sirius' head, which the dog did not mind. The duo then went outside and could not believe what they have witnessed. Outside was buildings of strange shapes. With closer inspection was clearly carved stone building. The rocks that the buildings were carved from had this illumination that gives it an ethereal feel. The lights coming out from the rocks are reminiscent of the stars in the sky, which greatly increased the aesthetic of the place. Suddenly a quest notification showed up. Quest notification: the twin gods are glad of your successful reincarnation and tasks you to know more of the race you have chosen. Find the village elder and ask for his guidance. Difficulty: F. Reward: Coin of Fortune X1. Equinox then looked at his surroundings and saw other imps like him but with darker color hair, which kind of piqued his curiosity, but just went on his way to what looks like the village elder's house. He reached a cave structure bigger than the other ones that he has come across. He was about to go inside when suddenly he heard a voice from an armored individual which he can guess is a guard. You there, what is your business here? The guard said. I am Equinox. That I am asking if this is the village elder's house because I am in need of guidance. Equinox answered. The guard then scanned him from head to toe before telling Equinox to follow him. They went inside the structure and at what looks like a hall stood an old imp that gives off an aura of great wisdom. The old imp's line of sight went to the guard and then landed on Equinox. When the old imp's sight landed on Equinox, his eyes suddenly bulged for a moment then returned to normal. No one caught the change of expression that the old imp made. The guard and Equinox reached the location of the old imp. I'm sorry for interrupting you, village elder, but this young imp asks for your guidance, the guard said. It is fine. I am not irked by your interruption. You may leave to tend to your duties while I entertain the young lad, the elder said. The guard bowed then left to return to his post. The village elder then faced Equinox and greeted him with a warm smile. Welcome, young lad. I am the village elder of the town of Quasar, located in the area called the Paradox Plain. My name is Askelaur, the village elder said. Chapter 17. The Secret of the Deimos Race. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Greetings, Askelaur, my name is Equinox. I have come to seek your guidance in order for me to become stronger. Adrian said. Askelaur nodded as he was impressed by Equinox's politeness. He then told Equinox the story of the Deimos race. Young one, in order for you to become stronger, one must know thyself. Be attentive and listen carefully, for I will tell thou a story on how we, the Deimos, came to be. Askeladd said with a serious face. He then continued, in the beginning there was nothing, no light, no darkness, only absolute void. But from that void came a spark. A singularity thought to not be possible. The spark then gained sentience and looked at the void and felt lonely. From then on the singularity collected its essence and magnified it to fill the void in its heart. From there, it started to shape the universe. Worlds of different beauty in danger yet still devoid of life. The singularity instinctively knows that if it sprouted life, that life would be stagnant and unchanging, that the universe itself would reject that notion. Thus the singularity forced itself to split into two, which resulted in the birth of the twin gods, Gaia the goddess of life and Abaddon the god of death. The energy that birthed the twin gods was so enormous that the residual energy that touched an element sprouted the elemental gods that supported the singularity's creation. The twin gods then together created the first beings, the Asmodeans, tasked to keep nature's balance, for the gods themselves cannot proactively be in the world, for it will not bring harmony. After the Asmodeans was created, then came the other inhabitants. Gaia created all living things and Abaddon implemented change in the form of death. For life can only prosper if given a purpose. Life and death, an endless cycle of change given by the twin gods in order for the world to continue moving and never stagnate. The Asmodeans held to their duty of safekeeping the harmony of the world, while some ascended into godhood. The remaining though managed to find happiness from the inhabitants of the world, resulting in the creation of the 5 races J.Tun, Fakin, Erebian, Salvagian and Deimos. Askeladd paused, then continued speaking. But peace did not last, as if tearing through the fabric of reality came what we call the corruptants. Monsters of indescribable forms and horror that tainted the harmony of the world. The Asmodeans did their best in defeating the invaders, but they ultimately fell in battle. Though defeated, the Asmodeans managed to seal the most powerful of the corruptants. The inhabitants of this world, Nebulan, managed to fend away the weaker corruptants, but it also decreased the population. After a couple centuries, the world's population has started to recover, but the greed of the other races got the better of them. Empire rise then fall. Unable to hide their jealousy of the Asmodean descendants, they pointed their weapons at us, which forced us to go into hiding. Adrian was astounded to hear the backstory on why the 5 races was not written on the official history of the world. They were once inhabitants of this world, but was written of as monsters to be slain. Askeladd then explained that due to the Deimos race being able to use origin magic, they managed to flee their pursuers by going inside a pocket dimension, which was now called the Paradox Plane. Askeladd then looked at Adrian with a serious expression. You, young lad, are closer to our ancestor Asmodean than any of our Deimos brethren. You have the characteristic blue hair with white locks that indicates that you are closer to an Asmodean than the rest of us. The Asmodean were famed for their snow-white hair and horns that is almost reminiscent of a crown. Askeladd proclaimed to Adrian. Quest notification awakening the lineage. Askeladd, the famed spatial mage of the Deimos race, wants you to fully revive your Asmodean bloodline. He wants you to find relics of the Asmodeans and activate your bloodline. Quest completion condition. 100% Asmodean difficulty. S reward. Transcendent spell book of space magic. Do you accept? Y/N. Chapter 18. Persona. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian accepted the quest since there was no time limit given to quest. He knows that he would probably just have the quest sitting in his quest log for a long time without any progress, but still it was better than not accepting, since he will not lose anything. Good, good. I am glad you accepted my request. But it seems you must first become stronger in order to accomplish the goal that I have given you, Askeladd said. Quest notification growing stronger. Ibnov Com. Askeladd wants you to achieve the appropriate strength in order to unlock the quirks of the imps. Clear condition. Reach level 10 reward. Askeladd's familiarity increase. Adrian was suddenly given a quest by Askeladd. He was surprised because he does not even know how is he going to go to the outside world. From Adrian's observation, the Paradox Plane is just a town and no monsters live in the area except for the ones used by imp summoners and pets. As if reading Adrian's mind, Askeladd then told him how to get out of this place. North from here, you will see a place with circle stone formations. There will be guards stationed there so you can ask if you ever got lost. There will be fractures in space that will lead you to dungeons and fields of varying difficulties. You can just ask the gatekeepers on what the dungeon are. Not only dungeons but some of these fractures lead to different parts of the continent. Askeladd said. Before I go then, I have something I really want to ask, Adrian said. Well then, ask away, Askeladd replied. What is the classification written beside our species? Mine has lesser demon beside it, asked Adrian. Oh that. That would be in our world's term be called the persona. Askeladd replied happily. Askeladd then continued, persona would be what in layman's term you would call a person's state of being. It means a state on how much you can influence the world and the beings around it. Kind of like an aura. In other kingdoms or faction, it could also dictate your hierarchy as the stronger your persona, the stronger your power would be. So basically it just determines your standing in the world and gives you a slight power boost. Adrian asked with a quizzical look. Not just a boost but a substantial one at that. For example, if you a lesser demon were to use a spell, the power would be at a rating of 1. But for example, if a greater demon would cast the spell that you cast, it would be twice the power. And if a higher being like me, an archdemon, cast the spell, it would be 10-folds more powerful. Askeladd added. Adrian was shocked, for this was not in the forums or any other gaming leaks. He asked if this only applied to the 5 races, but it did not. It applied to all beings in this universe, not just this world. He asked what is the persona ranking for humans, and Askeladd answered with human, hero/sage, savior/sorcerer supreme, demigod. The persona would be dependent on the job they choose, if they either went the warrior class route or the magic class route. For the Deimos race it would be lesser demon, greater demon, archdemon, noblesse. It seems that the terms for other races are different, but it is almost the same principle. Askeladd also told him that for the 5 races, raising your persona is similar or akin to evolution to them because their physical features changes. The changes get more distinct as the persona increases. When Askeladd said that, Adrian looked at him with doubt. Askeladd just smiled and told him to go on his way so that he could teach him after he finished his objective. Equals 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 equals. Adrian reached the stone formations and was amazed. He could see the fractures in space, or more accurately looked like broken glass holes that are floating. He asked the gatekeeper where the fracture of a dungeon appropriate for his level. He then pointed at a fracture, and sure enough Adrian used inspect to know the dungeon details. Dungeon. Silent Prairie level requirement. 510. Adrian then smiled, then put his hand near the fracture's hole, then him and Sirius got sucked into it. When Adrian regained vision, he noticed he was outside the dungeon. He saw a wooden signboard with a writing Silent Prairie. Adrian knows this dungeon as it was one of the low-level dungeons that was not famous because it contained gigantic bug monsters. It seems a lot of people complained about this dungeon because they seemed to develop a phobia to insects. Adrian looked behind him to check if the fracture was still there. It seems it is there, but I remember no one in the forums mentioning this phenomenon. Adrian thought. Askeladd told Adrian that only the Deimos race can see these fractures, and it seems he was right. Adrian and Sirius went inside the dungeon without them noticing that a little far away from them a party of 3 that just came from the dungeon saw their silhouette and saw that they materialized out of thin air. Chapter 19. Evolution Part 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian and Sirius went inside the dungeon unaware they had been spotted by some onlookers. The party of three debated if they should attack but opted not to due to being wary it might be a strong field boss since you cannot be sure if the field boss was weak or strong in Pandemonium. The ranger in the group managed to take a screenshot of the being that went inside the dungeon and took to the forums. Since a newbie basically created the thread, only a few people went and clicked on it. The players who read the thread went on about how this monster might be related to the ongoing event or how it might be a field boss. Some even said it was a player since it apparently had a creature next to it but was quickly shut down by the others since there were monsters with familiars that fought for them and there was no race that was like that currently available in .game. Meanwhile Adrian, who was unaware that was happening, managed to encounter their first bug-type monster in the dungeon. It was a group of 5 giant ladybugs. Monster. Giant ladybug LVL, 5 HP, 50/50th description. A normal-sized ladybug mutated by the power of a dungeon. It grew to the size of 1 foot. Sirius use howl then attack, Adrian commanded. Sirius easily dispatched the bug monster they encountered but it was not enough for them to level up. It did make them close to breakthrough though. In the game of Pandemonium, it was easy to grow until level 10. A bit of effort to progress to 20 and that is when leveling up starts to slow down which prompts you to constantly hunt to reach higher levels. Of course, someone could power level you but even that has limitations since the player needs to deal sufficient damage to be eligible to acquire experience points. The duo wandered a bit further into the dungeon that currently has 2 areas. The first area has ladybugs that explodes which is a mini boss. After searching for a few minutes, the duo encountered it. Monster. Giant Explodebug LVL, 0.6 HP, 100 description. A ladybug altered by the dungeon and was given the properties of fire magic, explosion. Adrian read about this monster on the forums. It has high health but average speed. Its health is high because it gets damaged a bit every time it uses its magic. It also has an erratic aggro counter because it switches aggro suddenly to deal damage to anyone in the party. Adrian smiled as he knows how he could manage this with his newly acquired magic spells though there were only 2. Skill. Quantum Space Mine Effect. Explode a part of space within a radius of 10 meters. The area of effect of the explosion is dependent on the mana expended. Explosion radius is varied from 0.5 meters 1.5 meters. The explosion could be triggered instantly or when the user dictates for it to explode. Mana. 1050 MP cooldown. 5 seconds skill. Chrono lag effect. Slows down an enemy's movement by 30% by manipulating time around the target. Can only affect enemies of the user's line of sight. Duration. 2 seconds cooldown. 1 minute. The Chrono Space Mine was the origin magic basic skill that was given when he changed race. It had low cooldown unlike Chrono Lag which was a debuff skill that has a long cooldown so it was not spammable. The Explode bug charged towards Adrian ignoring Sirius taunts. Adrian smiled then used Chrono Lag on the bug slowing it down for a few seconds. Sirius then used its Shadow Sneak ability as commanded by Adrian and managed to hit it. Adrian then managed to follow up by using Quantum Space Mine which hurled the bug a few feet away from him. 0.70 HP 0.30 HP. The loot was then collected by Adrian. It consisted of coins and Explodebug Flame Sack which was an item for alchemy. The portal to the next level appeared and also a magic circle that can teleport you to the dungeon entrance. The second level of the dungeon was a large area with 3 different bug monsters. The monsters were Giant Beetle, Giant Centipede and Killer Hornets. Adrian first went into the area where there were giant beetles are spawned and there were a lot. The party that saw Adrian from the distance did not go to the second level due to reasons that they were unprepared, thus a reason for not attacking Adrian when they saw him. The duo took their time clearing up the beetles that numbered up to 20. They aggroed one at a time in order to not be overwhelmed. The beetles have great defense due to their exoskeleton but low attack damage and mediocre speed. Monster. Giant beetle LVL 6 HP. 200/200 Description. A beetle altered by the power of the dungeon. Great defense, low damage. The duo continued to the area where the giant centipede spawned. The area has barren land and a humid atmosphere that gave the feeling of drought. Adrian remembered that the weak spot of the centipedes are the area in the middle of their head which controls their sensory functions. Monster. Giant centipede LVL 7 HP. 65/65 Description. A normal centipede altered by the dungeon, gaining massive size and power. Uses its body to wrap around their victims and bites their head. Can grow up to 50 meters long. The giant centipedes numbered only to 10 but were about 10 feet long. Some were coiled up together while some are just lying on the ground. Adrian instructed Sirius to attack the weak spot of the giant centipede after Adrian made his move. Adrian then placed quantum space mines above the weak spot of the heads of the 3 giant centipedes that were sprawled on the ground. As soon as the last space mine was placed, Adrian detonated the 3 mines. The explosion altered the giant centipedes that were coiled together, which entangled them even more. The 3 that were attacked squealed in pain and were enraged. Sirius then sneaked attacked the 3 giant centipedes, killing them. The entangled centipedes tried to get away but was unable, thus they became target practice to Adrian. Adrian was elated to see his offensive skill going up in mastery. He checked what was different and was a bit disappointed since the change was not that drastic. Skill. Quantum space mine effect. Explode a part of space within a radius of 10 meters. The area of effect of the explosion is dependent on the mana expended. Explosion radius is varied from 0.5 meters 1.5 meters. The explosion could be triggered instantly or when the user dictates for it to explode. Mana. 949 MP cooldown. 5 seconds. Adrian still thought that the decrease in mana was somewhat nice. Adrian scoured the area again and found another group of centipedes doing the same thing. They repeated this cycle until both him and Sirius managed to level up. Suddenly a system notification popped up in front of Adrian. Soulbound Sirius has cleared the conditions for evolution. Please choose the specific path to evolve your soulbound. Chapter 20. Evolution Part 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adrian was wondering why it said possible evolutions. As far as he knows, evolution was possible for some species, but it would just evolve without choices. Also, an evolution of a soulbound is influenced by the summoner's auxiliary magic. He once read on the forums that a summoner who got fire magic as his secondary magic evolved his soulbound bird into a fire bird, while a summoner who had wind magic evolved his soulbound bird into a higher bird species. He thought Sirius would probably evolve into an origin dog or something. He double-checked the interface and it really did say to choose. The only possible explanation would be the strain element next to Sirius' name. He checked the possible evolution paths. Giant dog, a bigger and stronger version of the dog species. Black dog, a spectral entity that is larger than a normal dog and often has large glowing eyes, said to have power over shadows. Able to turn incorporeal to dodge physical attacks. Demon wolf. A special and extremely rare type of wolf species. Often created when a wolf is possessed by a demon. It exudes ferocity unlike any other wolf species. Able to use elemental magic. True enough to Adrian's guess that something wolf-related would be included in the evolution path. He now has a bit of idea or hypothesis that evolution could be influenced by a bloodline or strain. But would all monsters be like that, or is there a possibility that the strain could be inserted on the creature? All these thoughts were put aside by Adrian for now, as he now needs to choose Sirius's evolution path. The evolution paths are a bit different since it deals with 3 aspects. The giant dog is cute but not that ideal for battle, so that leaves 2 choices. The black dog is probably more of an assassin type of creature since it has mastery of the shadows and from the description. The black dog is also classified as a spectral entity which has a possibility of obtaining a skill that bypasses physical attacks. The demon wolf evolution is like a magic warrior which deals magic and physical damage. The only problem now is which one do I choose? Adrian muttered. Meanwhile, in a dungeon that looks like an abandoned church. A party of 5 is seen fighting a dungeon boss. This dungeon boss is a type of acolyte wearing a dark robe with blood-red inscriptions that decorate it. The acolyte is adorned with accursed jewelries and tome with bones adorning it. Holy Grand Piercer, an archer shouted. From his bow, a shining light was fired akin to a shooting star and pierced the acolyte, piercing its heart. It then said its final word. This will not be the last you saw of me, impure creatures. For when he rises, I will rise again serving him. The acolyte boss cursed as he turns into a decaying corpse, then to dust. Well, that was more difficult than I imagined, the archer exclaimed as he picked up the loot and the quest item that the Church of Light has told him to get. Quest item. Crown fragment of the Undead King. Description. A fragment of the cursed crown of the Undead King. It exudes an aura that pollutes a living being's soul. This archer was none other than the current rank 1 player, Hoiwei. He was the one who unlocked the Dragonkin race and currently has the 3rd job class, War Dancer, which is a hidden job class for the archer. His reported level is 93, but his actual level is actually 10 levels higher. The party accomplishing their objective for the instance dungeon has teleported out of it unaware that a dark shadow was lurking and saw what happened to the acolyte. Adrian finally made up his mind and chose the demon wolf evolution path for Sirius. Are you sure that you want the demon wolf evolution for your soulbound? Y/N, Adrian accepted and then saw the summoning magic circle for Sirius shown itself, and the runes that made up the magic circle changed into other symbols, then changed color to a deep violet. Another magic circle was added inside the magic circle, making a concentric magic circle. Sirius started shining, then howled as he becomes bigger to the size of a dire wolf. His pupils then changed in color, which was gold. He then had bracers placed in his foot. The bracers were made of gold with runic markings. Sirius' fur also grew longer, adding a majestic charm to his whole new form. Adrian also heard multiple notifications popping up. Soulbound Sirius has successfully evolved into a new species, Demon Wolf. Bite has been transformed into Maul, Shadow Sneak has been transformed into Phantom Rush, Sharp Fang has been transformed into Alpha Predator. Sirius gained the passive skill, Magic Resistance. Sirius has gained the passive skill, Magic Core. Name. Sirius Species. Demon Wolf LVL 10 HP 300/300 MP 250/250 EXP 3.5% per 100% skills. Active skills, Expand, Passive skills, Expand, VIT. 15 STR, 50 Int. 25 AGI. 50 Dex. 30 End. 35 Evolution. Possible. Adrian's eyes bulged when he saw Sirius stats. From his knowledge, this were not supposed to be the stats of a level 10 monster. Now Sirius is a monster. Sirius could probably defeat a level 20 player with those stats. Once a soulbound monster reaches level 10, the game system finally gives it stats corresponding to the monster. That was the reason why Sirius now has mana, unlike last time where he could use skills without limit as long as they were not on cooldown. The reason being that reaching level 10 was the player's condition on passing the early phase of the game. At level 10, the player can now lose experience and items due to death. Players lose on average 10% to 50% of the experience points that they have upon death, and if they are really unlucky they will also drop an item. Another thing that made Adrian surprised is that evolution was once again possible for Sirius. This means that Sirius is actually a very rare monster. Usually a monster only evolves once and if lucky twice, yet there were rumors that some monsters can evolve thrice, which is also called their ultimate form. This was a speculation by players since soul stones came in different colors. At first they thought it was just a hoax until they compared a blue soul stone to a silver one which housed the same monster soul. The silver one could apparently evolve for a second time. Others tried finding a silver soul stone but was unfortunate to not find one. The players tried to ask Atlas Incorporated, but all they said that it was up to players to discover the universe that they have built.